my god. It's so good. This stuff is what I like to call vegan crack. I've just done this huge budget-friendly plant-based meal prep. It is high in protein, it's going to be filling, it has tons of veggies, it's really gonna help support your weight loss, and it's inspired by the Blue Zone diet, which will help you live longer. It's Rose and welcome back to Cheap Lazy Vegan and another meal prep video. Today we are doing yet another budget-friendly but high in protein, high in deliciousness meal prep that is going to help you stay full, and it's going to also help you live longer because this is inspired by the Blue Zone diet. If you guys have not heard of Blue Zones, they're basically parts of the world, like little places in the world where people tend to live the longest, okay? These Blue Zones have some of the highest numbers of centenarians in the world, which are basically people that live past 100. And even though they're all very different places, a lot of them have some similarities. And one of the main similarities is that they all follow a predominantly heavily plant-based diet. Yes, it is not fully plant-based, but they do follow a heavily plant-based diet. So this is going to be fully plant-based because we are watching a vegan channel. So I hope you guys are excited. All of the recipes will be linked down below. And by the way, this video is also very kindly sponsored by Thrive Market, and I'm gonna talk to you about them a little bit later on. So let's get started with the meal prep. So the very first recipe we're gonna make is a barley minestrone soup. Soups are great because you can make it and then set it aside while it cooks, and then while it cooks, you can cook the other stuff. So this is going to be a barley minestrone, and this is inspired by one of the Blue Zones, which is Sardinia in Italy. Okay, so let's get started. First, into a large Dutch oven or a large pot, we're gonna add a bit of oil. So I'm using some avocado oil that I got from Thrive Market. So we're just gonna heat this up. This has been heating for some time, so it's a bit hot. I've turned the heat down a bit. So I'm just going to let that kind of soak the bottom of the Dutch oven. And then I'm gonna add in some onion that I've already diced and minced garlic. Cook that for a couple of minutes. Next, I'm gonna add in some carrots and celery, both of which I have diced. Ooh. So basically, I'm making a really veggie-packed minestrone soup so that it bulks up the volume without bulking up too much of the calories. And of course, you also get more vitamins and all that good stuff that comes from vegetables. Now, I like to add a little bit of salt on the veggies, just a tiny bit. We're just gonna cook this down for just another few minutes. There is construction happening downstairs, so pray for me that we won't hear too much. Every time I try to film, okay, there is construction. So this is really going to help add in so much flavor into the soup as well. And now I'm gonna add in the other veggies. Now, I'm adding tons of veggies into this, starting with some zucchini that, again, I have diced. Basically, I am trying to add as much veg as possible into this dish. Next thing I'm gonna add is some chopped mushroom as well. And I also have some bell pepper. I'm using green bell pepper because all the other bell peppers were so expensive. Why is green bell pepper cheaper? Anyway, it was like literally half the price of the red bell pepper. All right, we've added the veggies. As you can see, there's so much veg in here. It is jam-packed, full of vegetables. I'm gonna add a little bit salt again. I forgot I turned the heat down, and now it's weak now, so I have to turn the heat back up. So give it a moment. Okay, give it a moment. All right, guys, so the veggies have cooked a bit. They don't have to be fully cooked. And now I'm gonna add in some diced tomatoes from a can. I'm using the canned diced tomatoes from Thrive Market. So I'm just gonna throw this in here, along with some water or vegetable broth. Now, I actually made vegetable broth while I was basically prepping for this. So essentially what I did was when I peeled the onion and garlic before I diced it, I essentially saved the scraps and I boiled it with some water to make a no sodium vegetable broth. Now you don't have to do that, but I mean, if you have some time, you might as well. I sometimes like save my scraps if I remember. So I save scraps like carrots and onions, which are great for vegetable broth. So I save that and then just boil it with some water, and it's gonna really deepen up the flavor of this lovely soup. You don't have to do it, and we're gonna add in some more flavor later, but I mean, if you can add in more depth and flavor, why not? So yeah, I just boiled these scraps of carrots and the onions for about, I don't know, 20 minutes, and it's gonna add a really nice depth Okay, we like the depth. Now we're gonna add in some spices. Now I've got a few things here. I've got some onion powder, some either oregano or Italian seasoning. I also have some garlic powder and some black pepper. And I also have a vegetable bouillon cube. Now I've actually got 2 vegetable bouillon cubes, but I'm gonna see how this is. Now normally I would use 2 because we have so much like liquid here, but because I made that extra seasoning, that deliciousness with the broth, we made a no sodium broth. So now I'm not sure how much vegetable bouillon I might need. So first I'm gonna start with 1 and then we're gonna see if we need more, okay? So that's what I would do for you as well. Adjust the sodium according to your preferences, okay? So let's add in the seasonings. Let's just dump it right in here. There we go. And then I'm just going to crumble up the vegetable bouillon cube. And if you're using a vegetable broth, you might not need to use this. Just add some salt if you need. But my vegetable broth was no sodium. So this vegetable bouillon cube is going to be very high in sodium. So keep that in mind. You guys, I almost forgot a crucial ingredient, which is beans. So I'm using cannellini beans, which are basically white kidney beans. I got this from Thrive Market. I basically rinsed it with water and I drained it and I'm gonna add it in here. You can also use regular kidney beans. You can use whatever beans you wanna add. This is gonna add a good source of protein, and beans are super healthy for you. And I believe a lot of the blue zones eat a lot of beans. So there you go. You can also add additional beans if you want to make this even higher in protein and even more filling. It's up to you. I mean, I could easily add another can of beans in here as well. And now, of course, we also have to add some barley. I'm using pearl barley. Now, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I already had some pearl barley in my fridge that was already cooked. So I'm using cooked pearl barley, and you can add dry barley, but it's really gonna thicken up the soup. Okay, so I probably would cook the barley separately. That would be my preference because barley will soak up a lot of that water when you cook it. Okay, so I have some cooked pearl barley here. It's just left over. We're also gonna use it for another recipe afterwards because we're using things I have. You know what I'm saying? That's what I recommend you do as well. Now, if you don't have barley, you could also chuck in some dry pasta, which again will soak up some of that liquid, which, you know, is not necessarily a problem, but it will thicken it up a bit. You can also cook the pasta separately as well. But yeah, I'm doing pearl barley, which makes it even more healthy because this is just unprocessed, very healthy carb source. It's also very cheap. So we're adding that in there. So as you can see, it is nice and chunky. We got so much going on here. It's gonna be so filling and filled with so much goodness. Now there's a few extra steps we can take, but first I'm gonna bring this to a boil. And once it boils, I'm gonna turn it down and then I'm gonna let it simmer and let it cook and let it do its thing. Let the flavors make love for, I don't know, about 20 minutes or so. And then we can finish up the things we need to do with this. But while this is cooking, we can move on to the next recipe. Before we jump into the next recipe, I have a very special deal from the sponsor of today's video, which is Thrive Market. If you guys haven't heard of Thrive Market, they are an online membership-based grocery store, and they specialize in natural and organic items, very specialty, high-quality items sold at a discounted price for their members. So Thrive Market is great because they actually guarantee you savings. If you're a member, you will save on sustainable, natural, and high-quality items, and if you find a lower price somewhere else, they will match it for you. They also guarantee that you're gonna make back your annual membership of $60 in savings, and if you don't, they will credit you the difference. So that is how they guarantee savings for their members. So of course, there's a few things I love about Thrive Market. Number one, they have so many vegan products, and it's really easy to shop vegan. All I do is go on thrivemarket.com/vegan, or you can just find like a vegan tab on the diet tab situation, but I just go to thrivemarket.com/vegan because it's easy, and then it has literally thousands of vegan products available. And if you have other dietary restrictions, such as if you're gluten-free, they also have tons of gluten-free products as well. They have so many different types of products like groceries, snacks, pantry staples. They've got vitamins, home goods, like personal care items, so many different types of awesome products. It's basically a natural health food store online, and they ship everything to your door, which is so awesome. And for all orders over $49, it's going to be free shipping. And Thrive Market is really great, especially if you kind of live a little bit more in like a rural area or places where it is hard to find kind of like a health food store or vegan products, like vegan specialty products. You might be able to find a bunch of stuff on Thrive Market that's hard to find where you are. So definitely check out Thrive Market, you guys. And of course, I gotta hook you up with the deal. Guys, if you click the link down below and you join Thrive Market today, you save 30% off of your first order, and you get a completely free gift worth up to $60. Yes, guys, 30% off already discounted items, and you get a free gift worth up to $60. So such a great deal. Make sure you join Thrive Market right now if you haven't already, and I'll be using a few products from Thrive Market in today's video. Anyway, thank you so much to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get on to the next recipe. We are back to the minestrone soup. So it's been boiling now for a good, I think 15 minutes or so, and it's smelling great. I'm just going to give it a little taste. Oh my God. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add another half cube of vegetable bouillon, because remember I said I was gonna leave that other and see how much I need. So this is where it comes in handy. And then I'm gonna add the final ingredients. So I'm gonna add some greens, okay? This is chopped kale. You could do any sort of, not any sort of greens, okay? Pick something like spinach, baby spinach. Could do like Swiss chard, okay? Something like this, but basically dark leafy greens is a good idea. So I'm just going to shove it in here, okay? We like greens, okay? This is going to add a ton of goodness. We add this at the end because obviously this doesn't require much. It's already basically cooking down, okay? Leafy greens don't need to really be boiled for as long. So I'm just kind of adding it at the very end here. And at the very, very end, I'm gonna add a little bit of lemon juice. Like I said, you can add in some apple cider vinegar if you want. You can add in lime juice. This is going to help enhance the flavor. I'm just gonna add it at the very end here. This is veggie packed. It is gonna be so good. I'm gonna have this in the mornings for breakfast. I mean, what a hearty breakfast. It's just pure goodness, and it's cheap. It's high in protein, high in so many vegetables. Filling, it's gonna be filling, okay? Oh my God, it's so good. I'm gonna add some more pepper. Tiny bit of salt. Again, adjust according to your preferences. And as you can see, we made a giant pot. So this is great for, you know, your family or yourself or for many, many meals. And it's also great to freeze as well if you made too much. So there we go. Now we're gonna let this cool down before we pack it up.
And there we have a barley minestrone soup inspired by the blue zone of Sardinia, Italy, using simple ingredients like barleys, beans, chopped tomatoes, herbs, and lots of veggies. This is not only an affordable recipe, but it's so filling and so delicious. This recipe made 4 gigantic servings, which is only 323 calories per serving and 15 grams of protein. Honestly, it's such a huge recipe that you could definitely make this into 6 servings, which would make each bowl only 216 calories and 10 grams of protein. I'd probably eat that as a snack or pair that with a piece of toast or a small sandwich to make it a complete meal. Feel free to also add in another can of beans to bump up the protein even more.
All right, guys, this is probably gonna be like the dinner, but obviously you can eat it lunch or dinner. So this is going to be a barley fried rice, or fried barley, okay? So it's like fried rice, but with barley instead of rice. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so we're also using barley once again. Once again, we're using the cooked pearl barley. Lovely. Obviously, if you want to, you can just use rice instead of the barley. You know what I'm saying, okay? It's gonna be high protein. It's gonna be delicious. Let's get started. So here we have a wok. Okay, you want to use a large pan or a large wok, and I'm going to add some oil. Once again, I'm using that avocado oil from Thrive Market. I'm just going to add a tiny bit, well, maybe a little more than a tiny bit. There we go. And then I'm going to take some extra firm tofu. Okay, we're going to add some tofu to this. So oftentimes in fried rice, you see eggs being used, and I often like to use tofu instead because it kind of gives that same sort of similar texture, and of course it gives protein as well. Now I'm gonna be careful here because I'm gonna get, oh God. So what you wanna do with the tofu is you want to crumble it with your fingers. Now you can do it directly like this, but just be careful because you might get splashed with some oil, okay? So maybe I'll just crumble it separately so that I don't get splashed, you know? Oh God. Boop. You know what, I'm just gonna do it. If we burn ourselves, oh well. So again, you want to crumble it with your fingers like so, okay? Boop. There you go. And now I'm just going to let this cook a bit. I like to let that water just kind of evaporate. Yeah, this is gonna help take out some of that water in the tofu. It's gonna make it nice and crumbly. Now, because we're using extra firm tofu, it's not gonna be like super watery, but there's still gonna be some water in there, okay? So we're just gonna cook this up. All right, guys, so the tofu has cooked for a couple minutes, and now I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some soy sauce at this stage. Let's add some soy sauce. We wanna add that flavor into the tofu so that the tofu itself is flavorful. We're gonna add more flavor after to the whole thing, but I'm just kind of layering the flavors, okay? Makes sense in my head. So what I'm actually gonna do is set this aside, and now we are going to add some more oil onto this pan. And now let's cook up the vegetables. We're gonna start with diced onion. And I'm just going to cook up the minced garlic with the onion as well. If you want to know my garlic hack, if you don't know yet, I'll link my cooking hacks video down below. So definitely check that out. So we're just cooking up the onions and garlic just so that the onions become nice and fragrant. It's starting to become translucent. It's starting to smell like heaven on earth, you know? So now, let's add in the other vegetables. I've got some carrots. I have some very finely grated carrots because I actually used a food processor to grate these. So that's a little hack. That's a little tip. If you hate like dicing veggies or, you know, doing things by hand, you can always use like a food processor, especially for something like fried rice, because you want the veggies to be like really, really finely chopped, okay? And then I have some zucchini. This I actually chopped by hand, but again, we have some nice zucchini here, diced zucchini. And last but definitely not least, we're also gonna add in some mushrooms. So some of this I actually chopped by hand and some of this I used a food processor. I think I did too much in the food processor because it kind of became like a puree situation, but you know what, it's still gonna be good. Look at all the veg, okay? You see the volume of veggies? If you're trying to like cut back on your calories a little bit, really just think about adding lots of veg into your diet, and that's really gonna help bump up the volume of your meals and make your meals less calorie dense, okay? Because vegetables are very low calorie dense compared to a lot of other things. Now, obviously you don't wanna just eat vegetables, you wanna balance your meal out with some carbs and some protein, and you wanna eat adequate calories, but I would say lots of veggies is always a good idea. So we're gonna cook up the veggies. I'm just gonna add a bit of salt onto the veggies. Not that much, just a little bit. We're gonna add more flavor after. Actually, let's do some pepper too, why not? Get that cooking nicely. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's smelling lovely, absolutely lovely. So basically you want the veggies to be mostly cooked all the way through before you move on to the next step. And now it's really simple. This is a really easy recipe. So now what I'm gonna do is add in that cooked pearl barley, or again, you can just use cooked rice. Leftover rice works fantastic in fried rice. So day-old rice is perfect. I'm using a few days old cooked pearl barley. And then we're gonna add back in that tofu that we cooked earlier. And I'm gonna add some additional protein, which is going to be edamame beans. You guys know how much I love edamame beans. They are simple, they are easy. I guess you could say this is inspired by the Japanese part of the Blue Zones, which is the Okanagan. Okinawa. So Okinawa is like an island in Japan where people live like super long. Well, I don't know if it's changed nowadays, but like basically the older generation lives like a very long time. And they eat a lot of tofu, okay? I'm sure they eat, you know, soybeans and things like that. So this recipe is definitely inspired by the Okinawan. Okay, we got beans, we got tofu, lots of healthy stuff in here. And now we gotta add in some more flavor, okay? So at this point, I'm going to add some more regular soy sauce, and I'm also going to add some dark soy sauce. Now, if you don't have dark soy sauce, just add in more regular soy sauce, but I feel like dark soy sauce, I don't know, it does something different, okay? It gives a nice color, it gives a different element of flavor, and to really enhance the flavors more, you can add in some rice vinegar, or I'm just using apple cider vinegar. I got the apple cider vinegar from Thrive Market. Definitely check them out. This is really gonna help just bring out a lot of the flavor. flavors. That's a little hack for you if you want to kind of like reduce your sodium intake. Add in something like acidic, you know, something like lemon juice, lime juice, apple cider vinegar, rice vinegar. It really helps enhance the flavor without adding in a ton of, you know, salt, a ton of sodium. So that's a little hack. That's a little hack for you. All right, I also have some chopped green onion. I'm gonna add about half of my chopped green onion at this stage. I'm gonna add more at the very end. And now I'm gonna give this a taste and see if I need to adjust anything. Because remember, this is your dish. I still have one more ingredient to add, but I add that at the very, very end. I think it's the right amount of saltiness for me, but I am gonna add in some more pepper. I love black pepper. And again, at this stage, if you're like, this is not salty enough for me, feel free to add in some additional soy sauce or more salt, stuff like that, you know? Here we go. Oh my God, look at this. It's beautiful. So now I'm going to turn off the heat. Well, I've already done it. Turn off the heat, and then we can add in the final very important touch, which is toasted sesame oil or roasted sesame oil. This will give this such a nice, savory, delicious flavor. It is so tasty. I add it at the end because if you cook it up, the taste is not gonna be as strong. So basically, you wanna add it at the very end to really help maximize that taste, okay? And a little goes a long way with this. It's so good. Okay, highly recommend, highly recommend. And it smells so nice. That's the secret, okay? That is the secret sauce, sesame oil. And now, I'm just gonna give it one more taste here. Oh my God. It's so good. Okay? Oh, it's so good. There you go. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this cool, and then while we're letting this cool, let's make the next thing.
This fried barley recipe uses some of the basic principles of the Blue Zone diet, emphasizing the importance of whole grains, beans, and vegetables. In Okinawa, Japan, one of the Blue Zones, they eat a lot of tofu, and Okinawan tofu is supposed to be even higher in protein and healthy fats, but for those of us living in other areas, regular tofu will have to do. Thanks to the tofu and edamame in this dish, this recipe comes out to 358 calories and 18 grams of protein per serving if divided into 4 servings. If you divide this into 3 larger servings, it comes out to only 477 calories and 24 grams of protein.
All right, guys, so last but definitely not least, we're gonna be making a pasta salad, a high protein pasta salad for lunch, okay? Or for dinner. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Anyways. So first things first, for this high protein pasta salad, we are going to boil the pasta. So I have the water going at this moment to boil the pasta, okay? So while the water and the pasta are boiling, you can basically prep everything. So then next thing I'm gonna do is prepare the tofu feta. Guys, if you have not tried my tofu feta recipe, you must try it. It is so good. I'm gonna make it right now. So what we're gonna do is mix together the marinade. So for the marinade, I'm using some oil. I'm using avocado oil, once again, from Thrive Market. You could also use extra virgin olive oil. So I'm just going to add that into this big bowl. I'm just gonna do everything in this big bowl. We're gonna make things easy for me. Next, I'm going to add in some miso paste. I'm using white miso paste, but honestly, you could probably use any miso paste. Next, I'm gonna add some apple cider vinegar. Once again, I got this from Thrive Market. You could also do like a rice vinegar if you want. Next, we're doing lemon juice. And now we have some nutritional yeast, and I got the nutritional yeast from, once again, Thrive Market. They sell like a really big, nice bag, so highly recommend. That's gonna add that cheesy flavor. For those of you that are new to vegan life, you must get some nutritional yeast. This stuff is what I like to call vegan craft. Next, we're gonna add some salt, some garlic powder, and some Italian seasoning or oregano. Now I'm just gonna mix together these marinade ingredients. Lovely. Look at that. So it's gonna be like nice and thick. It's gonna be nice and thick. All right, so the marinade is ready. And now I have some extra firm tofu, which I've cut up into nice small cubes already. And I'm just going to chuck it in here. Boop, boop, boop. And I realized I forgot to press it, but I'm sure it's fine. So I'm just going to mix this very well. And you can make this in advance, like the day before, but I did not plan this. Basically, like the longer you let this marinate, the more it's going to taste like feta. It is so good. But honestly, even if you just eat it right now, which I'm gonna do, it's still gonna be tasty. All right, I'm gonna let this like sit. Another option is before you start the entire meal prep, do this first. Let it marinate. Honestly, just Even right now, it's tasty, but it's gonna be more tasty once it soaks up the flavor. All right, guys, so we have the tofu here, and now at this point, you can chop up your veggies. I've already done that because I am a professional, you know? So I've got tons of veggies. Once again, we are making this high in volume, low in calories, lots of veggies, lots of vitamins, lots of things that are good for you. So I have 2 bell peppers here. I've got a green and a red. Yes, I caved and bought the red. So expensive, but it's good for you, so we're just gonna have to deal. So I'm just gonna throw it on top. I'm not gonna mix it just yet because I'm still waiting for that tofu to marinate, okay? You can keep it separately if you want. That's also optional for you. I also have some cucumber. I've actually seeded the cucumber. So basically what I did was I took a long cucumber, I cut the long part in half so that it was like a half of a long piece. And then I just scooped out the inside, you know, the mushy part in the inside. I scoop that out with a spoon. Now the reason why I do that, I normally would just eat the seeded part, but when you're prepping a salad, if you're meal prepping, if you have that kind of wet part, it's gonna make the salad a bit soggy, and especially if you're leaving it for a few days in the fridge, I highly recommend seeding it, okay? So I have a cucumber seeded. We're gonna add that in there as well. And I also have some diced red onion as well. I love red onion in my salads. Just gives a really nice fresh taste. Next we have some red cabbage. Woo! Some chopped red cabbage. We love all this color. You know what I'm saying? We want to make this colorful. And obviously you can pick and choose whatever veggies you want to add. This is yours, okay? It's all you. And next, I'm gonna add some more protein. So I'm gonna add some canned chickpeas, which I've drained and rinsed, of course. You can use whatever beans you want. You could do like edamame, you could do black beans, you could do whatever, okay? This is gonna add additional protein. And again, beans are so good for you, which is why I'm adding them in basically every single recipe. And that's a big part of the Blue Zone sort of diet. A lot of them eat a lot of beans, okay? So we're gonna add in some beans. There you go. And you know what's great about beans? It's so cheap and it's like a superfood. So last but not least, we're also going to add in some olives. You can use whatever olives you want. I've got some sliced black olives here. You know, it ain't no Mediterranean diet without olives, right? All right, guys, so now we're gonna make the very simple, delicious dressing. So for the dressing, I'm just gonna quickly mix it together in this bowl first before we throw it in there. So first we have some olive oil. Yeah, I'm using olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. You can find some on Thrive Market, the website. Some awesome olive oils there. And again, because this is inspired by the Mediterranean diet, of course we have to use olive oil, right? And then we're gonna add in some red wine vinegar. I love red wine vinegar. You can also use, you know, white wine vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar. You could use lemon juice. You get the gist. And then I'm gonna add in some maple syrup or agave nectar. I'm using a maple syrup that I got from Thrive Market. I also have an agave nectar from Thrive Market. I didn't know which one to choose. It's kind of similar, you know, it's a sweetener, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I shouldn't say it's similar. I'm going to offend my Canadians, my fellow Canadians. Next, I'm gonna add in some Dijon mustard, okay? When in doubt, add Dijon. And last, I'm going to add some Italian seasoning. You could do a mixture of different types of seasonings because that's what Italian seasoning is. So yeah, Italian seasoning. I think it just has like, I don't know, oregano, basil, thyme, you know what I mean? So we're just gonna give this a good mix. It's so good. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. Actually, I'm gonna add a little bit of lemon juice too. I feel like it's gonna bring out more flavors. Play around with the flavors, my friends. Play around with flavors. There you go. Well, there's the dressing. Now we're just gonna wait for the pasta to finish cooking and then we can put it all together. All right, guys, so now the pasta is done cooking. What I did was I rinsed it and I drained it in cold water. Now the pasta I'm using, my friends, is going to add even more protein to this dish because I'm using a high protein pasta, AKA pasta made of chickpeas. Yes, my friends, I'm using the chickpea pasta. You can use any sort of high protein pasta. I got this one from Thrive Market and I really like it. It's made from chickpeas. It's much higher in protein than other types of pasta. Now you can use regular pasta. This is still gonna be high in protein, but if you want to bump up the protein even more, highly recommend using a high protein pasta like chickpea pasta. So I'm using that. I'm gonna add this in here. All right, and now we can add in the dressing. Ooh. And now let's mix it all together. This is the fun part. And now finally, tofu can also be mixed in together. And that tofu feta is gonna give this even more flavor. We're really gonna dig into the bottom there, get that tofu feta mixed in really well. Now you can also add in, if you have like cilantro, parsley, any sort of herbs. If you want to add them now, you can do that. You can use fresh herbs or you can even use dry herbs if you want. And now let's give this a taste. Oh my god, so much flavor. So good. I'm gonna add some more black pepper. I love black pepper. I think I wanna add some dill. I don't know, do I? Do I wanna add some dill? Is that weird? Nothing is weird. Let's see how that is. I'm just gonna add it to my little portion. Oh my, that's so good. I just added some dill. Again, you can do parsley, you could do fresh cilantro, you could do basil. Do whatever you want. This is yours. This is yours. All right, guys. So there you go. There is my gigantic portion of pasta salad. And now we can put everything together and our meal prep will be finished. Yay!
And there you have this huge high protein pasta salad inspired by the Mediterranean diet and the blue zone of Icaria, Greece, emphasizing lots of veggies and ingredients like garbanzo beans, herbs, olives, and even adding in some plant-based feta. This recipe made around 3 huge servings, and each serving was around 546 calories and 27 grams of protein. Keep in mind, I did use that high protein chickpea pasta, which really helped bump up the protein even more. This was so good and filling, and it takes a while to eat because it's so high in volume. So it's really great for those of us that tend to eat a little too fast and should probably slow down a little bit.
All right, you guys, so that is pretty much it for this meal prep. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you found this helpful. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think of this video. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And of course, all of the written recipes will be linked down below, so make sure you check those links out if you want to make any of these. And guys, make sure you don't forget to check out Thrive Market. The link will be down below for you to get 30% off your first order, plus a completely free gift worth up to $60. That is such a great deal, so make sure you check them out. Thank you so much to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. And of course, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!